Sponsor of this session. She's the Vice President, Wealth Management Advisor for Janney Montgomery Scott, LLC, Maddie Hendricks.
Hello, can everybody hear me? All right, like she said, I'm Mandy Hendricks of Janney Montgomery Scott in Wilkes-Barre. Being a woman in a typically male-dominated industry, the Empower conferences have helped me relate to other women that are in my shoes or have been in my shoes before. It helps me gain a sense of community and also have the confidence to do what I love. What drives me every day is helping my clients achieve a secure financial future and empowering them to save and invest for the future. My team and I, we provide financial planning and investment management for individuals, businesses, and families in the area. We're proud to act as a fiduciary and always make recommendations in our clients' best interests. Feel free to reach out to me or stop by to our booth in the main area. And now I'm going to introduce our speaker. Sarah Effertz, the owner of Blue Elephant Events, has a passion for creating unforgettable experiences. With over 18 years of event planning and marketing experience, Sarah has helped create powerful and profitable fundraisers for community partners, helped companies create key milestones with cocktail receptions and golf tournaments, gathered like-minded individuals for intimate dinner parties, blown the roof off of venues for concerts and music festivals, and glammed up the runway with striking fashion shows. Sarah is a dynamic professional with a bachelor's in business administration, with a focus on marketing and finance, along with a master's degree in project management. Sarah's history of service includes past board of directors for Dress for Success Lackawanna, past regional director for the Scholastic Art and Writing Awards, and past school board member for Summit Christian Academy. She currently serves as the executive director of the Scranton Jazz Festival, a director of community relations for Here for a Reason, and a worship team vocalist at the Grove Church in Scranton. Sarah holds bachelor's degrees in business administration and biblical theology from Cairn University and a master's degree in project management from Keller Graduate School of Management. Sarah is also a wife and a mother to 3 wonderful children and 4 dogs and 1 cat. I don't know how she does it, so here she is. Come on, Sarah.
Ooh, that's loud. Thank you. Oh, thank you very much for that. And I'll say there is only one update to that, is that it's 5 dogs now and 1 cat. So good morning, ladies. I'm so happy to be with all of you today. It's great to see some familiar faces out there and a whole lot of new friends that I haven't met yet. How's everybody doing so far today? Good. Yeah, we had some amazing speakers so far this morning. Keynote this morning was amazing. And it's hard to choose, I think, the breakout sessions. Because even like during mine, it's like, oh, but I want to go to that one, and I want to go to that one. So it's hard to choose. So I know for myself, and I'm sure you are, I'm already feeling really energized and inspired from this morning's sessions. And I'm thrilled to be here with you today. So today we are going to be talking about using your unique passion to make an impact where your feet are. Have you ever thought that I wish I felt more fulfilled in my job, or I don't have time to do what I really love, or even I wish I could take the risk to start my own business someday? We'll explore what makes you passionate, how to discover new joy, and renew that belief in yourself to have a fulfilling career and personal life. So as noted, my name is Sarah Effertz, and I am the founder and CEO of Blue Elefante Events, but we'll talk a little bit more about that later. Again, I'm repeating some of my bio here because I forgot they were actually going to read that. But I'm also a wife, mother of 3 amazing young adults now, and a pet mom to 5 dogs, 1 cat. Community and church volunteer, a DIYer, a singer, an avid knitter, a driven businesswoman, and I'm passionate about people, lover of all things citrus, and most importantly, I'm me. You may be wondering why I said that last thing, because Sarah, aren't all of these things that you listed make up you? Well, yes and no. Some of those things make up the who that I am. But most of those things are the do, the things that I do. It's not necessarily who I am. Oftentimes, we define ourselves by what we do, and we think that's who we are. Our society has drilled that into us and made us think that it's the end-all be-all. Case in point, when we meet someone for the first time, how often are we asked, or do we ask right off the bat, so what do you do? Where do you work? What kind of job do you do? But when was the last time that you met someone and they asked you instead, what are you passionate about? Has a different ring to it, right? If someone you just met asked you that, how many of you would be taken back and almost not know how to answer it? Not even know where to begin? Let's see a show of hands. If you're asked, what are you passionate about? Right? And as most of us, and I have asked myself this question many times throughout my life, and I will continue to, because passions change. They don't stay the same throughout your life. Some may resonate through the core of your entire life, but new ones will come in, others will morph into something else and lead you into something new. So today we're going to answer that question together. And while we answer some of these questions today, I know Geisinger had gifted all of us those wonderful notebooks and a pen, so keep those handy on your lap because we will be going through an exercise. It's not scary homework. It's going to be fun, and I think it's going to be really eye-opening, or at least I hope it'll be really eye-opening to yourselves. So get that ready because we're going to use that in just a little bit. So we're going to talk about our spark. I'm not talking about the fire or that feeling that you look for in a love interest, or even that healthy energy drink that some of my friends seriously swear by. Some of you know what that is. I'm talking about getting down to the nitty-gritty of you and helping you make realizations about yourself. And then identifying the ways that you can take action on those things to bring new joy, and for some of you, new opportunities into your life. So I'm talking about self-passion and action to produce real change. And I think, yes, that's where I want to go. Getting used to the clicker. So it sounds really catchy and inspirational, right? Like, ooh, what's your spark? Well, that doesn't really do you any good if you don't know what it means and how to break it down. So we're going to dig into that. And we're going to start with self. What is self? Well, this is a great definition that I came across. Self is a person's essential being that distinguishes them from others. Think about that for a minute. It's your essential, internal, innate being that makes you different from everybody else. So remember when I introduced myself just a moment ago, and I differentiated between my who and my do? So let's take a minute to identify your who. Who are you? Are you an introvert or an extrovert? Are you creative? Are you logical? Are you artsy? Are you data-driven? Are you sensitive and compassionate? Are you a straight shooter? Are you curious? Are you adventurous? Do you enjoy crowds and socializing? Or do you prefer to stay behind the scenes? And when I was talking through some of these things with my husband, he said, that's me right there, like right away. He's like, I would never stand up in front of anybody and talk. He's like, I love working in the background. He loves one-on-one conversations. But to put him in a large-scale setting or to lead anything publicly is not his thing. So he's like, I don't know how you're doing this. I said, honestly, I don't know how I'm doing this either, because this is way out of my comfort zone. I had shared with a couple of friends of mine in Victoria as well. I said, when I was asked to speak, and I was honored and I was very humbled, but I said, is there any entertainment, singing involved? And Mari was like, well, no, not really. Why? And I said, because I would much rather have a microphone in my hand and sing for an hour than give a presentation and talk. And that's just part of my who and who I am and my comfort level. So if you have that pen and paper that I talked about, or you can even open up the Notes app on your phone, which I find is really handy, take a moment and in just a few words, write down what type of person you are. I want you to write down your who. Now through these exercises, I'm going to give you just about a full minute. And it's okay to be comfortable. We can learn to be comfortable with silence because I really want you to think about your who, the person you are. And when you're finished, just look up at me and I'll know we're ready to move on. Okay, it looks like most of you are just about done. And throughout this session, too, some of these questions may be helpful for you to write them down as well, because I want to encourage you over the weekend or just in the near future to come back to them and really invest some time into going back and thinking through these things. So how many of you found that to be pretty easy? Just identifying your who, describing yourself. Yeah? Most of you. Half of you felt it was probably a little challenging. It's like, well, I don't really know. I never really thought about it before, right? All right, so we're going to be coming back to that in a little bit later. Because next, we're going to dive into passion. And passion, this is the big one, right? This is the anchor to almost everything today. Who you think you are or identify as doesn't necessarily translate directly to what you're passionate about. Some of us in this room already know what we're passionate about, and others really aren't sure. Some of you may feel that you don't have time to pursue your passions because you just have way too much on your plate. You're overburdened and you're feeling heavy. You have too many responsibilities, and you just can't add one more thing, or you're going to hit your breaking point. And even if it's for yourself, adding something, or especially if it's just for yourself. Raise your hand if you have no idea what you're truly passionate about. Let me see a show of hands. Okay. Raise your hand if you know and you feel pretty confident about what your passions are. Let's see those hands. Okay, I want you to keep those hands up for a minute. Keep your hands up if you feel that you're pursuing your passion daily or at least on a regular basis. And those hands I want to see high. I saw a lot of hands drop. You know what you're passionate about, but you're not really pursuing them. Or maybe you don't know how, and you got some roadblocks along the way. Lastly, last hand raising. Raise your hand if you do or would feel guilty for pursuing your passions. I think that's a big one for us, for all of us women in the room. Because we have a tendency to put everybody first, everybody else's needs. I think that's just ingrained in us as women, as females, and especially as mothers or caregivers to some degree. You know, we feel like we have to take care of all of this. We have our job, we have groceries, we've got the kids, we've got school, we've got whatever that may look like on your plate. But then you've got these one or two things that make your heart beat apart from your kids and family. Kids are great. I've got 3. But there's other things in my life that make my heart beat that much faster and get me that much more excited. But I think, but I can't because I need to be doing this. And if I devote my time to this, I'm taking away from this, and it doesn't seem fair, or it'll be questions like I'm being lazy, or I'm putting myself more important than other things in life. And I think that's wrong thinking because we need to have that balance. Of course, we all hear the phrase, that work-life balance, but I think often we misinterpret a portion of that. We have our work life and we have our home life, but that home life is also work life. So where is the you life? Where is that part of it, and how are you fitting that in? Because it's just as important. And you'll hear all throughout the day taking care of ourselves, empowering one another, but being mindful. Mindfulness is one of the biggest words that I've heard this morning so far in another session I was just at, which was wonderful, but it's so true, and having some semblance of that and learning what that means and how to integrate that into your daily life is key. So with that being said, I want to define passion. There's many variations of the word, but one of my favorite definitions for passion, as you can see, is it's an intense desire or enthusiasm for something. Wow, look at those words. Intense, enthusiasm, desire. I like the word desire. It feels like you have to say it lower, like desire. Like those words are no joke. They're not sitting down words. They are get up and move your butt words. And for me, it's exciting, it's energizing, but it seems distant. It doesn't seem tangible. So we're going to make it tangible today. So how many of you, wait, sorry, I skipped ahead a little bit. What are some of the things that we can be passionate about? Here's a laundry list of some of the things when I was brainstorming that I came up with in categories. So the first, people and animals, making connections, networking, passionate about children, elderly, veterans. Are you artistic? Do you enjoy art and music and crafts? Are you active? Do you thrive on sports and outdoor adventures? Do you enjoy nature? Or do you find peace and comfort and accomplishment in gardening? Or is your home your passion, decorating? Are you a DIYer like myself? Do you love cooking and organizing? Just raising your family? Then you've got the tech side. Do you love technology in general? Are you a gamer? And it's not just guys that can be gamers. Women are gamers too. And the mechanics of how things work. I call it a data head, because I'm part data head, part creative. I'm like right in the middle. And sometimes they clash and they don't understand each other, but I work it out somehow. Another big component, travel. Do you get excited about learning about different cultures, trying new foods, learning about history, or learning new languages and developing new skills, where education is your passion? There was a book that a colleague of mine shared with our team and encouraged us all to read. It was called Your Blue Flame by Jennifer Fullweiler. Have any of you read that or are familiar with Your Blue Flame? Okay, I encourage you all to read it, but for the purpose of today, I'm actually really glad because this will all be new to you, and it'll be a great exercise. So it's about breaking out of that rut and falling in love with your life again, stating that everyone has a blue flame, which she defines as a special skill, a personal passion, gift, or talent. But we have a tendency to squish that part of us down, which robs us of joy. And in turn, it robs the world of our joyful contributions to it. I loved her approach, and I thought her exercise of asking just a few pointed questions was worth our time and effort. I've adapted her approach a little bit, but the foundational elements are there as I developed Spark. So let's pause right here for a minute, and we're going to continue exploring our Spark with with a short series of questions, which I would like for you to write down your answers to. And this is going to be a thought-provoking, quiet, introspective process, which is also nice because we can just take a moment out of this busy day of all of our wonderful conversations and the hustle of it all. And also, no matter what you came into this room today carrying, take a moment, take a deep breath, and just let it go for a moment. And just focus on yourself. Focus on your mind, your heart, and your experiences. So the first question, list all the times that you felt truly alive, even if only for a few seconds. Recall the moments that you experienced peace and joy and what you may have been doing when you experienced those feelings. Go ahead. Okay. I'm going to go through these a little bit quicker than I intended to, just to help stay on track with the day as well. And again, encouraging you to come back to these for the weekend. Number 2, what's something that your friends hate to do that you absolutely love to do? Just a side note for me, one of my favorite things to do is to dress up and go to theme parties. I love theme parties. My husband hates them. So finding that key girlfriend to go with, yeah, I just love it. Okay, next is name a time or two where you have helped another person or had an impact on someone else. Name a time or two where you've helped another person or had an impact on someone else. Okay, and the next question is, what did you do for fun as a kid? List everything you can think of, even the weird stuff. I won't ask you to read them out loud, so it's safe. Good. I can tell you ladies are digging in. I see a lot of writing happening. This is good. Okay. Number 5, whom do you admire and what work do they do? Okay, and the last question. Who are you jealous or envious of? And what work do they do? Okay, so it's amazing. I gave you almost about 45 seconds for each question, and in your Blue Flame, in Jennifer's book, just take 3 minutes. I felt, at least while I'm standing up here, waiting for all you. 45 seconds feels like a long time when you're just standing up here. Or if you're done writing and you're waiting for others. Now imagine taking 3 whole minutes to just really contemplate and meditate on those questions and really dig in and think about those. So I encourage you to do that. So a little bit more writing to do, but it's going to be a little quicker. Lastly, on the left side of your paper, make a list of your negative qualities that you have a tendency to beat yourself up about. I know it's not something we like to think about or draw our attention to normally, but I encourage you to be really honest and transparent with yourselves. So I'll give you a few moments to do that. List the negative qualities that you have a tendency to beat yourself up about. Okay, last exercise. Now on the right side of your paper. And traditionally speaking, I've always found that this is the harder one to do because I think it's easier for us to identify some of the negative things in our life, the things we want to work on and things that we're not happy about, than it is to speak positively about ourselves. So I want you to make a list of the positive flip side of those qualities, right next to the negatives, and draw a line between them. And what I mean by that, for example, is, if one of your negative qualities you listed, I could be lazy. I'm a little lazy sometimes. Flip side, but I motivate others around me to just chill out and relax a little bit, take a breather. One other example is kind of bossy. I can be in that category sometimes. At least my kids tell me I am. I say, no, that's just mothering. That's called parenting. Bossy, but I'm great at organizing people to accomplish a goal. So think of those positives in that respect and congruently with the negative qualities that you had listed. Go ahead. Okay, so you're probably wondering why I had you do all of that. For some of you, they could have been very difficult questions to answer, but I encourage you to take that time again at home and go back through them and reflect. When we start to identify your likes, your motivations, your dislikes, we start to reveal something about ourselves. Sometimes we start to recognize a theme throughout them, and this is what I hope that you'll discover. Take a look at your who and the passions from earlier that you wrote down, and start to compare them to some of the qualities that you listed about yourself. And try to look for themes or look for something that may have surprised you or some connecting factors in there. So I know I'm packing a lot into a short period of time, and I'm trying to hurry to keep us on track. But I wanted to quickly walk you through this exercise in order just to jumpstart your mind and your heart on this path. So back to passion. Many of you raised your hands not knowing what your passions are, or some would feel guilty about pursuing their passions for one reason or another. One of the problems we have is that we often define a passion as a do instead of a who, something we do in our spare time. I'm sure there are some in the room that have already found a way to take their passion and make it their vocation, which is amazing if we can do that. And how wonderful it is to be able to do something that you love and get paid for it, right? Right? Yes. So this is where some of your earlier reflections come in. I want you to circle or write down or just simply think about just one thing that you identified as a passion and marry that with one of your positive qualities. When you begin to do something like that, you can then start to look at where you are in life and in your vocation, and you can recognize your unique contribution. So many of us wind up mentally settling into this rut of, well, I have a job, I do things, I get stuff done, da 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 da. But there's little positive or emotion or joy in that. So that takes us to action. What is action? It's the fact or process of doing something. It's a thing done. It's not a thing I'm going to do. It's not a thing I think about that I'm going to do someday. It is a thing done, period, exclamation point. We've reduced our days down to task lists and emails, right? Like just getting through your email inbox every day, and just when you think you're getting to the end, like 10 more come through, and you're like, oh, crap. What if you started to look at the unique contributions that you offer, your passions and qualities, and start to look at the work that you do not as tasks, but as areas where you are exercising your passion and your unique qualities? I guarantee that you'll start to feel a little bit of joy creeping up inside of you, and maybe through this process, start to breathe new life into your days, into your daily work. I said that at the beginning, that I would talk a little bit more about my company, Blue Elefante Events, later, a little later on. Well, it's later, so we're going to get into that. I've always had a passion for people, for engaging and socializing, but also to discover how things work, and organizing, and putting together a plan, and seeing it come to life. As much as I love lists and spreadsheets, I love creativity and exploration far more. I started my career in finance. I was very good at it, but I became really bored. And I had to go through this mental process of, yeah, but I'm good at it, so that just means that I'm supposed to do it, right? Just because I'm good at it. And it took me a long time to realize, well, no, because that's not the whole formula. That's part A, you know? But I know that there was a part B and C and D and E, and I was just skipping over all of that. It didn't have that spark for me. And that was a spark with a K this time, not a C, because I do know how to spell, FYI. So after taking time off to start my family, I was ready to enter the workforce again, and I decided to pursue the marketing half of my education. I loved all that I was learning. It was challenging, it was ever-changing, you know, and it was a lot of fun. Through the various roles I filled, I was exposed to events. And it's wonderful because marketing and events go hand in hand. You can do marketing in a multitude of different ways, but when you're doing an event, you have to do marketing, or else nobody shows up and nobody knows about it. So it was like the perfect marriage. I'm like, oh, this sounds great. This sounds like me. And once I started getting into that role, just out of literally the boss coming to me and saying, we want to do this, so okay, you and you, your team, make it happen. I was like, okay. And after a couple times of making it happen, I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. I like this. I feel something going on inside of me. So events of all kinds, and I became part of that team who was responsible for planning them, pulling them off, and now I was feeling that joy big time. I was like, whoa, I didn't know a job could feel this good. This is amazing. But that feeling, what I thought was joy and everything, it was limited and it was short-lived because it wasn't something that was part of my daily life. You know, those events would come, they'd go, and then there'd be a whole bunch of other things in between. And it took me about 15 years to realize that I loved planning and orchestrating events and connecting people and connecting other people to those people's missions and accomplishing their goals. Loved it. Nothing gets me more motivated and excited. So for me, that meant starting my own company, which literally only meant that I thought of a name, I registered it, I paid a fee and ran it in the newspaper to make it legit. Then I was like, okay, now what? I've got this name. It even did a logo. Chose colors, all the fun stuff. I don't know what the heck I'm going to do with it. What's the first step? So I still have my full-time day job, but throughout my first year, I started to make some plans and envision what I truly wanted. I was fortunate to have a few marketing clients and event clients in that time period, but I was still not hitting the mark internally. And everything was just kind of gray and fuzzy. So it took me about 3 years to really solidify my passion and develop a direction and a plan moving forward. So I started setting goals because I discovered that I wanted to plan events full time, and that was it. I worked my butt off doing a lot of self-learning, networking with people, volunteering, and then slowly adding client after client until I had a true book of business. Before I realized, now 6 years into it, I was producing the equivalent of my corporate salary through my side gig. I don't know how, I don't think I slept. Somehow my family says, yeah, we did see you. We didn't feel abandoned. I said, good, because I don't know how I did it or where I was. Mentally, maybe I just wasn't there, but I showed up. But once I saw that I could sustain that, I took the plunge into my business full time. And actually just recently, just this past January. So thank you. And it was scary as all get out, trust me. But it was my joy. So trust me, it wasn't without, its set of fears and doubts. But I knew for me, it was that now or never moment. It's a now or never situation. And, because number one, I'm not getting any younger. And I've got 2 in college, 1 in high school. And I'm 43 years old, and I'm literally just reinventing, renewing, and changing my story. And changing, or not changing my story, adding to my story. Just going in a new chapter and feeling like, for me it was now or never, but it's also like it's never too late. I have members of my family and friends who were literally like in their mid-50s, late 50s, and decided, I've been doing this for 30 years or whatever. I really don't like this. I'm going to do something else. And they do, and they were successful at it because they believed in themselves, they were passionate about it, and they just took that first step. And they were willing to take a little bit of risk. But as we heard this morning, of having that personal board of directors, people that they surrounded themselves with, that they connected with and made part of their team to make these things happen and accomplish that. So that's my story. And that was my journey from looking at my who. I identified my passions and slowly put them into action. That doesn't mean that the only way to find new joy in your career or your life, though, is to be an entrepreneur. We're not all wired that way. Honestly, I'm still not sure that I am, but time will tell. Not everyone is meant to be a business owner. Not everyone even has that desire. And I think it's a falsehood we say, to be successful, you need to own your own business. Or to be successful, you need to be the president or the CEO. You need to be in that C-level suite. And that is not the case, because we're not all wired the same way. And it doesn't mean that we're not successful. It means we are successful in the greater contribution of everything. Because even those C-level people or those entrepreneurs aren't successful independently. They're not successful by themselves. They're successful because everybody else around them, underneath them, beside them, and above them, all working towards a similar goal and pushing them towards success. And it's what you do with that. So even if you don't love your job, with the exercise, and I won't ask anybody to raise your hands because I know we're all here with a lot of your companies and coworkers. So it's an internal assessment. But even if you don't love your job, with the exercises we went through today, you have the tools to help you discover new joy, to discover a part of your passion, to discover your spark, and build it into where your feet are. And this is the identification portion. Just take one small part of that. One small action, a part of your passion, and things that you circled on your papers. Highlight that to yourself in the work that you produce every day. Look at your quote-unquote task list, at home, at work, whatever. But take that task list, and I want you to turn it into a goal list. This brings us to our final stage, producing real change. Taking action will make you start to see things a little differently. You'll start to feel differently about what you accomplished during the day. You'll start to feel more motivated, determined, and more focused. You'll start to feel encouraged and inspired to do and discover more. Trust me, I promise you, you will. There's so much we can do, pardon me, that we can do mentally to enrich our life, to make the things that we spend our time on or need to do, like our job or our family, more meaningful and fulfilling. And it can all start with recognizing your who and passions and putting them into action, one piece at a time. So for our purposes, change. Change is taking something and making it different. It is replacing something with something else. Simple as that. Yet so many of us fear change. We run away from it. We're like, no, we have to keep everything the same because anything else is scary. Or you don't know how to take that first step towards change. Well, I can say that if you truly invest your mind and heart into the questions I asked you today, you've already taken the first step. You're already beginning your path of change because you're taking the time to reflect, you're taking the time to identify and use that to your advantage. Take that task list, which you look at with daunting eyes every day, I'm sure, and I want you to write the word goals at the top of it instead of to do. Why? Because we all feel great and get that little shot of endorphins when we accomplish a goal. We don't necessarily feel the same way when we've completed a task. I mean, I love checking, I do get satisfaction checking off those boxes when I make my list of like, okay, done, done, done. But it still comes with a heavy weight of like, oh, and I'm exhausted, and oh, there's just still so many things, or here's this list, I checked them all off, but I have to make a new one tomorrow. But doesn't it feel different mentally, emotionally, physically when we set a goal and we start taking steps to that goal, and then we can say, I accomplished this, I did this. Even if it's like, I vacuumed the whole first floor of my house today. I found time to do that. Make it a goal for your day. Because at the end of the day, you want to be able to sit down, put your feet up, feel proud of yourself, take ownership of it, and let it feed you, let it encourage you. So part with accomplishing a goal. It's also looking at your perceived negative qualities list. And I say perceived because we married them with some positives out of that. It's seeing that positive counterpart that truly, truly matters. We often convince ourselves that we need a career change to find joy or satisfaction in our days. We need to totally shift gears, change everything. Although that's definitely true for some of us, and if that is, that should be the path that you forge. But oftentimes we just get stuck and we forget or we don't realize that we have exactly what we desire right in front of us. We've just become blinded or numb to it. Or just stuck in this grind, or the shiny has just worn off. You've heard me say the phrase, where your feet are today. And I love the picture that paints. And why is that? It's because that phrase reminds me and pushes me to take a look at where I am now. Now in my career, now in my life, now in my household, now in my church, whatever that may be, you're now. And it helps me focus on finding or creating joy right where I am. The alternative being complacent or drifting because my mind is focusing on what I don't have or where I am not, which is very different from setting goals or from dreaming about the things that you would like in your life. Dreams are great. You need those dreams. If you focus on where your feet are and you make the most of your opportunities by applying your passions and seeing them in new ways, your feet will travel you to the next great thing. And that next great thing in your day will lead you to the next great thing in your week. And I guarantee you, it will lead you to the next great year and year after that. And before you realize, you've built a fulfilling life that brings you joy and fosters real change for you and those around you. Because why, ladies? Because joy is contagious. It is contagious. Hear that phrase where you say, oh, I love being around her. I love talking with her. She's just so magnetic. She's so happy. She's so positive. It's an essence of joy. And we want to surround ourselves with people. We want to be in the presence of people who exude that. Let's all be one of those people. Who wants to be one of those people? I want to hear it. Are we going to have joy? Are we going to try to find joy? Okay. Because I want us to be contagious, not in a bad COVID way, in the good joy way. So in conclusion, I'm not saying that everything is going to be perfect, obviously, because we all know that you're going to struggle. And if you say you're not going to struggle, that's just not reality. Not everything's going to be perfect. But it's how we handle that struggle, that's what matters. When we're of a positive mindset and taking control of our thoughts, and we're driven, we're able to handle our life struggles in a much healthier way. And in the end, we gain new strength to push forward through whatever it is. Whatever it is. Because we're traveling with joy. We know ourselves better. We've set goals. We've identified a path. And through that, you build strength, you build confidence, and you build your foundation with you and others. So I hope you're able to discover part of your spark today, or at least are set on the path of doing so. Thank you for listening, and thank you for all the ways that you contribute to your communities and workplaces. Because honestly, what you do every single day, in all the capacities that you do it, it matters, and you're making a difference. So thank you for having me. So, does anybody have any?
I do have one question that was submitted.
Sure.
Do you have to be happy all the time in your passion, and can there be a small part that might not be that great?
That is a great question, and here's why. Because when I first set out, I had good days, bad days, challenges. Obviously, when you're starting your own business, and even before, just in my career, I've worked over 20 years in an industry, and wasn't always happy. Doesn't mean that overall I didn't love what I do, or I didn't feel like what I did mattered. So the answer is no. You're not always going to be happy. Period. But happy isn't joy. Joy is internal. Joy is deep-rooted inside of you. And that's what you draw on, and that's what helps bring to the surface on the days where you're not happy, where that person, spoke to you the wrong way, disrespected you, or took credit for what you did, or fill in the blank, whatever it may be. Your kids are just really testing your patience, or your husband, or, someone cut you off on your way to work. Those don't make you happy, but happiness is fleeting. And when that happy feeling goes away, you're trying to search for the next happy thing. And then you're searching for the next happy thing. And it's exhausting. Searching for happiness is exhausting. So no, you will not be happy all the time. But find that joy, and I guarantee you, it'll help on the unhappy days. Yes?
You mentioned a book.
Yes. It's called Your Blue Flame by Jennifer Fullweiler. Hard to say her last name. Yes? Change. Yep, so spark was self, passion, action, and real change. You're welcome. All right, any other questions? Okay. Thank you very much, and thank you to the Scranton Chamber and my sponsor. Appreciate being here today.